The next element that I want to talk to you about is form. I have several different definitions of form, but I am going to just skip ahead to what I think of for our purposes in art as the best definition. And that is artwork, either artwork or an object that is three-dimensional. Form has height, width, and depth. Shape, on the other hand, has height and width. It's what we consider two-dimensional. So form is the three-dimensional response to shape. So if you think a circle is a shape, a sphere is a form. If a square is a shape, a cube is a form. Okay? So we're thinking 2D when we talk about shape. We're thinking 3D when we talk about form. Okay, so form can either happen in actuality, in an actual three-dimensional form, like a sculpture, for example, or it's something that can be suggested and implied with two-dimensional shapes and lines on a two-dimensional plane. So I have an example here of a statue by Bernini, where you have the figures kind of intertwining amongst each other, moving in space. You have to walk all the way around. You know, when you look at that sculpture, you have to walk up to it, you have to look up at it, you have to walk all the way around and see it from 365 degrees. Now, when you're looking at a painting, you may very well see something that you say, oh, that's a tree, that's a building. But it's not really a tree or a building that you can walk up to. You are being led to believe that this is a three-dimensional object in a three-dimensional space, but it's through the use of the art elements and design principles that the artists have been able to make it appear as though there are trees, buildings, fruit, a plate, a table on a two-dimensional surface. Okay, so let's talk about three-dimensional works first. In three-dimensional artworks, form is not only the structure of the entire piece. Form is the structure of the entire piece. So we have a very famous sculptor, Michelangelo, who I'm sure you've heard of before. And I just really want you to appreciate the bold three-dimensionality of the fabric, the way it falls on his body. Okay, very, very famous sculptor, Rodin, the thinker. You may have seen representations of this sculpture before. It's quite a large sculpture, very, very massive and very kind of awe-inspiring when you stand in front of it. It's larger than life size. And he's known for these really massive human forms that are just, bulky, is the only word I can come up with to describe them. Now, in two-dimensional painting, okay, like we were just talking about sculpture, that's 3D painting, photography, printmaking, these are two-dimensional art forms. We are going to refer to form in terms of shapes that are created to make an illusion of three-dimensional form and three-dimensional space. So one of our favorite painters to talk about is Paul Cézanne, because he's just such a master at creating the illusion of form and space on a two-dimensional canvas. And so, one of the things you can see that he's done here, yes, these apples could kind of resemble apples if they were just flat shapes, kind of like the little illustration right here, but he's used shading on them and highlights and shadows to create deep recessed spaces here and really bright highlights here. And so he's using paint on a flat surface to create the illusion of form. So form we associate with three dimensions.